flute, no it's a battle. Time to put your vehicle in a drive, make it to travel. Like Mary, you are going to put it up.
Where the God man them there? Where the man them there in other place? So yeah, this is it, man and man. We there. Yeah, can you imagine? February 23rd, 2022. It's a brand new episode inside the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men. It's the mailbox. Here every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. right here on Love 101 FM, the family station, celebrating 29 years on planet Earth. It's a beautiful afternoon in Kingston City. If you're new around here, welcome. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, so ensure you jump over. I am Kevin Bailey, and I will be riding solo today. My co-host, Courtney Morrison, is on the other side of life in the motherland, doing some interesting things there. So I'm very excited though for what's online up for today. So man and man from Morn Point in the Grill, you're in for a treat. Lyrics are words that make up a song, usually consisting of verses and choruses. The writer of lyrics is a lyricist. The words to an extended musical composition, such as an opera, are however usually known as a libretto, and the writer as librettist. The meaning of lyrics can either be explicit or implicit. Powerful. Some lyrics are abstract, almost unintelligible, and in such cases, their explication emphasizes form, articulation, meter, symmetry of expression. Rappers can also create lyrics, often with a variation of rhyming words that are meant to be spoken rhythmically rather than sung. But what's really communicated through these songs, these lyrics? What is it? What's the intention of those who are producers of these lyrics and put it together in such a pulsating way that even when we're sleeping, we're hearing the song? Inside the mailbox today, it's all about men and the music industry. Lyrically speaking, let me tell you, we have some heavyweights in the place here, man and man, who we're going to be interacting with. But these are some of the questions we want to be looking at. Has there been an increase in violent sad songs since COVID? Has COVID changed the writing style of music? Want to hear these professionals' perspective on that. What effect does the lyrical content of a song have on the male mind? Can you know, say a man thing we are deal with? Do these songs impact, cause, correlate to anything in the man mind? Do male artists care about the impact of their music on society, or them just doing a thing, social commentary? Do they care about the impact? What does the secular say about the types of gospel music being written and produced? And what do Christians say about the kind of music being produced secularly? We're all in this thing together. How do lyrical contents of a song affect society? A bigger picture we want to look at. And do you believe the music can cause or minimize depression, crime? How we deal with grief and all of those anxieties and changes as a result of the pandemic? So there are many questions to be asked. And today we're going to seek some answers from some key industry players, contributors, those who have been in the industry for quite a long time, and they have the experience and the expertise. Our very special guests this week are JV McIntosh, music producer, CEO at Pioneer Music. Paul Barkley, been around a long time, brother Paul. Songwriter, music producer, manager, Catalyst Crew. Dwayne McDonald, artist, manager for Reggae Entertainer, Kabaka Pyramid, production tour manager. You see, we have big, no, let me tell you, in some places you have to pay money to hear these guys talk, you know. So everyone demand them know say when we get it for free. Gentlemen, welcome to the mailbox. Just so great to have you.
Greetings.
Blessings. Big up.
Blessing, greetings.
So wonderful to see you. So man and man, remember, we want to hear from you. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. You can leave your comments via our WhatsApp line. It's 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. And we're asking inside this program today, can the lyrical content of a song affect a man's mind and his behavior? That is the core issue. We want to know if the lyrical content of a song can affect, if music can affect one man think and choose and feel and in behavior and how it impacts society. Well, ladies, we welcome your participation, but you don't know, you can participate in the program by leaving us a message via WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, but do not call or give us any voice notes. Allow the man them the space also, because you don't know you have well for space already, right? So these are the man them time. Just encourage your boyfriend and encourage your uncle and the father and the husband and the nephew and all of the man them to listen up, right? And so forth. So before we go into the main discussion, we want to get to know our guest a bit more. We go all the way until 6:30 p.m. So guess what? It's time for what we call the draft, where we kind of look at preliminary open stuff. So this is what I love. Starting with Dwayne, and then we go to JV, and I leave Paul for the last here. Why did you choose music, or did music choose you? And do you think the lyrical contents over the years has evolved for the better or for worse? Dwayne, you are the
Wow,
man out first.
what a question. I mean, I would definitely say the music chose me, for sure.
Mm,
My journey, the interesting one, being around my friends at school, and they were the ones who were more the creatives, you know.
uh,
And coming back from university with so many friends that were creative, they needed facilitation for this creativity. So I
yeah,
kind of found myself stepping into that kind of vibe. I used to DJ as well in school, and it just kind of evolved from there, to be honest with you. So the music
uh,
definitely chose me, and with success and more responsibility, more facilitation, more management, you know, I myself grew in terms of my role in the music. And yeah, things going very well so far. I give thanks for that. As it
yeah,
relates to the lyrics
yeah,
definitely, in my opinion, definitely affect the psyche of people everywhere. Music is one of the most powerful forces within, you know, um, in the world as it relates to influence, you know. And of course, we're here in Jamaica, and we can't have the artist of the century, Bob Marley, and his influence around the world, and don't value
yes.
lyrics. That would be very, very odd. So certainly the power of lyrics is undoubted. And in terms of how it has evolved, I know this is an opening segment and we have a lot to speak about.
Right, sure.
You know, I mean, music has always been somewhat of a reflection of what's going on. Even if you look on the evolution of reggae music, in particular, when it moved from ska, from the mentor to the ska to the rocksteady to the reggae to the dancehall, the culture, each time it was kind of a reflection of the culture at the time, the pulse of the people. When the music slowed down, when the music sped up, and the lyrics followed suit with that. I would
Is it
say
is
that
it better or
right
worse
now there's a
doing
lot of
doing
negative lyrics
generally? I don't know what catch you. Generally speaking, is it
better
for the
or
better or
worse.
for worse? Eh?
No to when, because there's a
Uh,
lot. There's a whole heap of period. No to when.
right now, like presently where you are
Comparing
today,
to when, the 70s, the
from
80s, the
from from
90s.
from,
There's
from
a
you
lot you
from
can
you
compare
know
to.
music.
I would say that there is. I would say that there is a lot of great positive music now, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of negative music right now, and that has been the case in the past as well. So I wouldn't
Okay.
be able to tell you concretely it is worse now or better now as it relates to lyrics and the subject matter. You know,
Okay.
I mean, I myself consider the 90s the pinnacle of music, so I would say it was better in the 90s, but I might have a bias, where that is
Okay.
concerned. Yeah.
Thanks, Dwayne. Listeners, Dwayne McDonald, right there. JP McIntosh, I know you have to be careful. Seem that you're moving, right? So, JV, I know you're muted, but can you tell me why did you choose music, or did music choose you? And do you think the musical lyrics has evolved for better or for worse? What's your evaluation up to this point?
Yeah, blessings. All right.
I think you're muted again, JB. So JV doing some technological changes there. Yeah, you're muted. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, man, I'm here.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
Yes,
blessings
JV.
first and foremost. Solid response
Appreciate.
I'm doing. For me, music started in the church.
Hmm.
Um, so it's
So think we're probably, maybe you have to try it without your camera so that we get the sound. So JV, I'm gonna go to,
yeah, man. I'm here.
yes. Try it without the video and see if we can get you. I want to hear every
Yes,
word. Yeah.
not a problem. All right. So music started for me in church. Pastor's child. I would say that whether it be from the church choir days and eventually um, transition into the instruments. Um,
Mm-hmm.
played a it was more of a progression for me, so it's really started with singing, and so
Yes.
understanding content, that how lyrics would affect us, whether it be from hymns, and it always had some kind of deep spiritual connection, you know so just
Mm-hmm.
through the years, having a lot of musical mentors, like good one-on-ones, going through school all the way to college, and leaving the entire scientific field to walk in the call of God, to really push the gospel through music, if you want to call it that. It's
Mm-hmm.
a big impact. It's a part of my life now. It is my central focus daily. So
Yes.
how jumping straight to the other point of how the lyrics or the lyrical content has
Yes.
either developed or regressed over the years. Well, let me speak objectively first. It's just the other day I was looking at a little piece of research or information, and they said that even children that are born like within the last 10 years, then they right now they prefer the lyrics and the music of the last 20 odd years, like 70s, 80s. They find themselves
Mm-hmm.
sitting down and listening more and more to that. To me, that
Mm-hmm.
speaks volumes. Now, my personal opinion is that music is dynamic. It Anybody
Mm-hmm.
can express themselves in many ways lyrically through music. So whilst it is that the technicality of music and the lyrics may seem to have regressed, like we're getting very simple words or very straightforward ideas being, instead of man saying go chop the tree, back in
Mm-hmm.
the day you usually use some kind of metaphor, or similes, or
Yes.
just some kind of a roundabout way of talking about it, so that even when children
Mm-hmm.
used to listen to that, they wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
know that you're talking about some adult content or something that is maybe more serious, or like a deep life experience. Nowadays they just say what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying. However, I believe that they are very poetic nowadays too. Guys are, whether it be dancehall, reggae, rap, hip hop, everything, whatever genre, in and outside of gospel, people have been very they have been very quiet, or very very good at articulating themselves. It's just that it doesn't hit as deep, or as much as it used to back then. Even if somebody said a simple phrase or sung a simple line, boy, it just did connect a different way. And
Ah,
that's just for me personally, you
yes.
know.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
man.
Thank you, JV.
So that's my take on the
Listeners.
lyrical content. Yeah.
Yeah. Really appreciate that. Paul Barkley, I can take step with him, leaving him for the last year. Paul, Did music choose you, or you choose music? And the second part, better or for worse, your evaluation of what is happening in the music industry, Sir Paul.
Yeah. So when I look at my life, when I look at the contribution,
Paul, you're very low.
can you hear me
Somehow
better?
not hearing you, and I want to make sure we hear every word
Hold on.
here. So the volume low. Come again.
Just checking the audio.
Uh, still low.
Is it better?
A little better. Let's see how it goes.
Whoa. Let me go up further. Is this better?
Yes, much better. Great.
Okay. Yeah, so go on to. Yeah, when I look at my life and what this little barefoot boy who went to Black Road Primary School, how I saw life then, and when I look at the contribution that I've made to my country, when I look at the contribution that I've been able to make in terms of the influence that what God would have allowed me to do and other people who are even touring now, there is absolutely no doubt that my mother, who wanted me to be a lab technician, because she wanted somebody in the medical field. When I was at
Ah.
Monroe College, one day the chemistry teacher referred to the assistant as a lab technician. That is the day when that dream went. I said, because in my mind, I wasn't seeing a
Yeah.
lab technician in terms of some space agency and stuff. I just see the helper in the classroom as a lab technician. And my mother, who was an ancillary staff at the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
those days, the lab technician driving a nice car and those things. So what she saw
Yeah.
for her son, I never see that for myself. But in the
Mm.
middle of that, music was already there because I was playing at church. And so leaving school, you know, meeting Monty Alexander from high school, imagine that,
Mm.
as a reggae man now, that kind of influence coming into Kingston and going straight to play at the church. I used to play piano only. And my pastor says, well, somebody else is here playing piano now, but Benjamin's brother just left the church to go to Caribbean University. So the only thing that is there is a bass in the corner. And everybody know me as a bass player because I just went
Yeah.
and pick up the bass because that is what was available. And I played the bass from that day until now. So definitely, music has called me. In terms of how, if we have progressed in terms of the music,
Yes.
there are some very good elements in music still, but if we were, I think Dwayne kind of helped to put it into the perspective that I was thinking about. If you were to look at the period of time from the 60s coming up, when you look at the ideologies in the world, when you look at the Marcus Garveys, the Michael Manleys, the Malcolm X's, and what shaped the writing and the direction of music, right? Think
Mm.
of that. Jump to the last 10 years and think of who are the people in the world like Donald Trump and others who are occupying that kind of space now. And sorry if you kind of, slight him, but everybody know him can take it. But the point I'm making is that when you look at, even in America, when you look at the leaders that are influencing America, when you look at what is affecting America's political system, remember, Bob Marley is a revolutionary in terms of what happened in terms of the freedom, of the African nation and how important that music was then. So I'm juxtaposing that to look at what are the influences
Mm-hmm.
in society now. What are persons doing that would be influencing the writing and the direction of music? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
will give you my perspective as to why The music has progressed. There's still some great music, but we may never be able to get out of that notion that the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s are the golden years, and we may never be able to create bodies of work. Individual works can do it, but when you look at the aggregate of Bob Marley's work, aggregate of Burning Spears work, aggregate of Peter Tosh, aggregate of some other great stalwarts, including some gospel stalwarts, and I would put Grace Trillers in that, because that's almost 40 years
Yeah.
of quality music that are still being played, and the quality that you hear then, you're still here, they can still play alongside the songs now. Certainly, the 80s and the 90s, and in terms of reggae music, the 60s are the glory days. But I dare say that great music is still being done. But compared,
Yeah.
that
Yes.
era was a better era.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the voice there of Paul Barkley. Gentlemen, really appreciate the perspective. So I tell you, man, call up some other man in other place because we're going to hear a whole heap of stuff. Um, Gospel artists doing, run it again. Many who were once secular, they have made the transition to gospel, and now they are putting music out there. Do you think that because they understood the secular community, um, they are in a better place to share this message? They would be more impactful, more effective? Or you think, boy, that them thing that shouldn't really happen? Dwayne, what's your take on this?
Well, I mean, any experience in general is good, so you can carry the experience from, being a practitioner in the secular world into the gospel world and apply that to what you're doing. But the truth is, majority of the quality secular artists and musicians, their background is in gospel music and is in the church, so
Uh,
I personally don't see it as taking um knowledge gained from the secular world and bringing it into gospel music from a musical standpoint, to
mm,
improve that more so. Perhaps the business principles, and perhaps you know the way the industry works and can be developed, especially from a business perspective, those things, carrying those things within the gospel world, certainly um would benefit it. But to me, I more see it working the other way, where a drummer or a producer, they get the base within the gospel community, and then they carry that and build on that if they choose to go secular as opposed to the other direction. Even myself, as I'm also an audio engineer, you know
mm,
the especially in live sound, the top live audio engineers is a church background, is a church infrastructure, for sure. And the innovation that's happening in the time is being led by church infrastructure that's at the cutting edge, So I mean,
mhm.
I wouldn't necessarily say that you're at a big advantage coming from the secular um back over to gospel, so to speak. It's really what you're trying to achieve, and without getting too deep in it, certainly the difference between secular and gospel is that secular music is driven a lot by business, but also driven a lot by just general expression of all emotion, so to speak.
Mm,
Love, hate, war, strife, upliftment. It has no real tie to any one thing. Whereas
yes.
gospel music, in my opinion at least, is very much, of course, tied to worship, you know.
Mhm.
And so your definition of good or bad or successful or not, is different to a secular person. So the question
Mm.
is kind of a hard question to answer, in that it depends on
Yeah.
what you deem as better or worse.
Yeah.
Is it that
Yeah.
you're trying to make better worship music by using the principles from a musical standpoint from secular music, or is it that you're trying to make great gospel music but in a way that business wise it will be success. You know, so it all depends on what you are
Mhm.
trying to achieve as a practitioner, I would say. You know,
Oh,
yeah.
thanks, Dwayne. That's why we ask you guys to answer these questions, because the man them want to ask it, but them don't know. So better well ask it for them.
Yeah.
JV, what's your take on this perspective now with secular artists moving over to gospel and the impact of that? Is it they're in a better place, worse place shouldn't be? What's your take on this, JV?
And that secular moving into gospel.
Yes.
Ah, it, if I should take it from a different angle, as Dwayne just pointed out, aptly pointed out that, from if it's from a business standpoint versus, the spiritual or other kind of technicalities, then that's one thing. Um, let me approach it from the standpoint of um, music being somewhat neutral in its fundamentals. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we we all know, even if we don't know in depth or any kind of musical theory, you just know when something sounds good, and
Mm-hmm.
and you know when it also feels right. Where music is concerned, I don't think it's any different. Um, I believe that if you want to lean to the spiritual side of things, it all originates from the same place. There are endless songs that are not yet written, and whether a secular man get to write it first or somebody from the church, it is still there to be written. I still have to lean on what Dwayne said in terms of uh, the place that you write it from, and it not just being worship music per se, because because of church culture, certain things are kind of taboo to talk about, although they are still very necessary for the body of Christ to grow. So let us say the secular man don't have any hang-ups talking about war or violence or love or hate. It is actually incumbent upon us in the church to also talk about those things, but we tend to skew a lot towards very vague representations of these things. You don't say, I'm actually hungry. You say, I'm going over a mountain and, through the valley. you know, But back to your point where it concerns the
Yes.
secular borrowing from the gospel and or coming over into gospel, I don't have a problem if artists are moving over or from secular to gospel. Where it concerns gospel artists moving into mainstream, it make you wonder if it's actually if it is going to beg the question of labels, because you can be a Christian and yet sing about things that are other topics that are spoken about in the mainstream, but you are
Yeah.
speaking about it from your perspective as a Christian. Nothing wrong with
Hmm.
that.
Exactly.
Because life is music encapsulates all the experiences that we have in life. It's just our church culture and environment that kind of dictate or say that some things are taboo to sing about lyrically. So you just shelf it. You said no, that doesn't sound like gospel. That
Right.
sound like pop secular things. So
Mhm.
so that's my take on it. It's very neutral, and it's how we try to box or package music.
Yes. Thank you, JV. For a minute or so before we do a studio throwback, Paul, and we may have to continue when we come back after the break. What's your take on this? Yeah, and you should have a lot to take. You're muted, Paul.
Yeah, I was trying to
But
unmute.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I concur with what Dwayne says and Javis. Everything. And I would like to add that perspective that I think you suspect that I have. And it is that um, there are two main points I want to make. There's a lot, but there are two main points I want to make. When the secular artist comes over into gospel, he encounters what Dwayne described. So over here, so you have 50 different topics to write from and mash up the place or make a money.
Mhm.
When you come into gospel, You have to sing what everybody else is singing. And the opportunities, as we all know in gospel, very limited. So the sad part about that is that you have some, well, I think I can survive this. You have experienced persons now, and you know the area that I am speaking about.
Hey, Paul, Paul, sorry, I have to cut you. We're going to take to the studio because I want it to be full. So,
Lord have mercy.
we gotta
Yeah,
just,
no.
I'm going to forget
Man,
what
Yeah,
this
man.
I get
getting
everything.
this way, you know.
I know
I'm
that.
gonna forget. It's an opportunity to forget.
I tell you, no, man, you gonna remember. So we go right to the studio, and
Yes.
we're gonna be right back. This is the mailbox on Love 101 FM. We're gonna be back in
Yeah,
a
man.
moment. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We are the crazy attack. You see me, he's a real G, real go-getter. My life moves non-stop. So me have to stay linked and flow yard and road. My connect and one plan link me up at home with Wi-Fi and on my mobile with data and calls to any network. At my yard, non-stop streaming my vibes. I study from a picking them and out the road and non-stop vibes. Same way. Flow connect me non-stop for as little as $3,999 a month. Plus GCT. I forget it. Visit discoverflow.co. Conditions apply.
Jamaicans, it's our Diamond Jubilee. 60 years of independence, and the cultural powerhouse JCDC is searching for Jamaica's next gospel star. The JCDC is now accepting entries for the Jamaica Gospel Star competition. Share your ministry and song. Submit your video performance of a cover or original song of 2.5 minutes. Visit the JCDC's website and social media pages for details to register and upload your entry. Entries close Monday, February 28th. Are you the next gospel star?
What a good thing to get the third party, brata.
Third-party car insurance just got a whole lot better at Key Insurance. Just add Brata to your third-party motor insurance policy and get collision coverage for your vehicle plus protection to the other driver. Request a quote online at keyinsurancejm.com or call 888-CALL-KEY. It's a third-party Brata. Extra protection, extra savings, and extra peace of mind. Conditions apply.
Rio Grande to the South Coast. Hotel workers and man wear off boat. This a for the craft vendors, red cap porters and transportation at airport. Jamaica tourism pension plan, building towards the future for tourism workers across the island. Retirement benefits to contributions. Every worker in the industry, permanent self-employed contract. For your service, you deserve security. Yes, you do. Tourism workers pension plan, build a bright future. Yes, you can. Tourism workers pension plan, workers invest through contribution. All tourism workers, age 18 to 59. Tourism workers pension plan.
Start making your contributions for a brighter future. For further information, visit mot.gov.jm or call 876-920-4926 for 30.
The program Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef regularly aired Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. but will be aired at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, February 23 to accommodate the broadcast of the Jamaica Baptist Union 172nd General Assembly. That's Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef. Thank you for keeping it locked on Love 101, the family station.
Grace Mackerel, you're my number one. Like, love you, yeah. Time by Grace Mackerel is.
That's 6:03, 3 minutes after 6, right here in Kingston City. So, welcome back, man a man from Martin Point in the Grill. And I just want you to know we have been having stimulating, interesting conversation with Dwayne McDonald, artist manager for Reggae Entertainer, Kabaka Pyramid, production tour manager. Paul Barkley, songwriter, music producer, manager, Catalyst Crew, and JB McIntosh, music producer and CEO at Pioneer Music. Before we took the break, and I hope Paul remember everything, you know. Paul, yeah, talk to us about the secular moving to gospel and your take on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was at the point where I was saying, if you listen to Dwayne's presentation, you know, on the topic, the range of topics, the range of opportunities that are in secular music is far more, and we know that, than gospel. Now, here are some persons where even if they are not big superstars, their earning potential from tours and dubs and stuff is far, 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 far more than gospel. So they have gotten saved now, and they have come into a space where they used to,
Yes.
and a lot of persons know that them can't understand the gospel industry because it's pure cuss and fight and them can't do nothing together. Meaning competition. So watch me now. Here are these people now moving from an area of great income to an area where lyrically everybody basically singing the same thing unless you're very creative. Because you're singing about Jesus, God, and worship. So the opportunities and everything gets much smaller. And without going into the detail, without trying to say who started from who not started, because the industry was like that before. What happens now is that when the business element associated with the more experienced artists coming into a situation where the resources are much less, what do you think happened? Just think business. I don't need to go into the detail. So that is what sometimes influence, because sometimes it is not necessarily the big artist that is competing or creating the problem. It may be the little artists who feel like me I struggle for 10 years and all of a sudden you come and you get in all of that. So I'm speaking real. So there is that happening. The other thing that I want to touch on quickly that I recognize, which is not a good thing from my perspective. I believe if you're in the secular and you're a mega star, God would have allowed you to be so equipped, just like your business sense and your business ideas. My disappointment is that for the most part, if Tiger gets saved, when Tiger come at church, me not hear no whap 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 Jesus whap whap. No, I hear a little Tiger will get soft and singing to what the church would program him to sing, because that's what I need to do to be accepted in the Christian community. And by so doing, like the recent discussions, you inadvertently turn your back on the calling that was perfected in you. And you come over here now doing some songs that are, and writing on your approach is totally different from who you are. I believe that if Bob was alive, because they said he got baptized right before he died, you believe that if he became a Christian, Bob would be coming singing some songs by Tasha Cobbs? No, I believe that he would continue the journey that God has had him on. And that quickly again, a lot of the artists that came to Christianity, the great thing is that their lyrics, a lot of them said that their lyrics were not derogatory, which is the reason why you should be using that style and that approach in the gospel to raise the level of where gospel music is. As a result, what has happened, a lot of them, they have come over into gospel, and generally speaking, gospel is still at a place where it is not recognized anywhere near secular music. Looks like
hearing the voice there of Paul Barkley. Think sorry, Paul, you dipped a while ago, and we want to make sure that we're hearing. So can you just share that last part there again? You're talking about the benefits that we could have.
Come again. Go ahead. Go again. I'm not
Okay.
sure at what point I
Yes,
broke it.
you're talking about the benefits that we
I heard you
just the
there,
last
Paul.
part there, the benefits
Yeah,
that
As it
seems
the
to
relates
me
gospel
to
Yeah,
like
man.
community.
Likewise.
it seems like
yeah.
Kevin's thing is going in and out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, okay.
But Kevin, if I
Well,
may just
thank you.
build on one
I'm
thing
great.
Paul said. If I may just build on
Yes.
one thing that Paul said. And also JV said it too, and it really struck a chord with me as it relates to perspective. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the Christian perspective on life experiences, and the music being a tool to express that. So you know, my understanding is that, you know, most if not all gospel artists, they are using music as a ministry, you know, and see that as their tool to minister. And I would think that the best way to minister in music is to capture popular music, and not necessarily to be the biggest gospel musician, but be the biggest musician, you know. And of course, I mean, I am not the most versed on all the nuances and the, you know, the various things within the industry, of course. But, you know, when Kirk Franklin was big, when I was in high school, whether or not I did like gospel music, I listen Kirk Franklin. And then I am more interested in what is he talking about? What kind of person is he? And then you draw closer and closer and closer and closer. And then, you know, you're ministered to, you know. And he did that by capturing popular music. It's not that I had a friend who was a Christian that listened to gospel music, and so I started to listen to gospel music, and then, you know, it was more, I'm just listening to music, and this is some great music from the perspective of a Christian, you know. And I would think that that should be the real drive of any Christian musician, artist, whatever, you know, to minister in song, which means capturing popular music, you know. And not
Thanks,
necessarily
Dwayne.
doing
Thanks
what
for that.
popular music is doing either, you know. That's not what I mean.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
totally. No, just because of time, and I want to get your guys' perspective. Can the music affect the behavior of, especially the man them? And because this is the mailbox, we see we live in a very violent society. Man, the crime, the corruption, the all of that. We don't have to talk about that too much. I want to know from your perspective: is the music contributing to the violence that we're having? Javian, your perspective on that, and then Paul, then Dwayne. Tell me, or no impact at all. What's your
I think it's a chicken and an egg situation, you know, because we use music many times, and pop music is whatever, you know, popular music of the day generally, as Paul and Dwayne highlighted, would be based on what is happening already in society. You know, so you know, harkening back to what Paul had said about, you know, Marcus Garvey being the influencer of the day, or, you know, whoever is present, or whatever topics are present in that era, then the music would generally basically just exclaim what is there, and then, of course, what is sung, what is played, then also has an impact on society. So it's a roundabout thing. I don't think you have one without the other, you know. So yes, music definitely impacts society based on your reach. Big or small artists, it doesn't matter. Everybody has some kind of a reach. I guess based on your, you know, just how well you are known in this space. But yeah, man. So it is a dual impact. What society is going on with, it would tell of person's experiences. People sing from, or the deeper the songs are, they sing or write from that place, or they may write secondhand as to what they are seeing or experiencing, and vice versa. That's my take.
so your mute is muted, Javis?
Yeah, man. So that is my take on it. That
Yeah,
that
you're mute.
it,
Yeah.
it, it has two impacts. You know, we are
Okay.
impacted
Back
by
with
what we
us.
see and experience, and then we also impact others based on what they consume from the music that we make. I guess just to wrap it up in an example, people tend to be, of course, a product of their environment. And if you surround yourself with a certain type of music, whether on purpose or just by extension, of your a child's parents always playing a certain types of records, or you live in a community, whether it be the garrison or uptown, and every night you go to bed, you hear a certain type of music, then by extension, whether consciously or subconsciously, it's definitely going to impact you, how you behave, etc.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So my take is definitely that music does have a very, very serious influence
Thank
on
you. Thank
behavior.
you, Javis. Paul, what's your theory?
Yes. You hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
So in my view, if there's a set of music that Christians ought to listen to, that begs the question. You get the point I'm making? If there's a set
Yes.
of music that Christians ought to listen to, it begs the question.
Yes.
If tomorrow morning 10:30 you go to Male Ego to get a nice, relaxing steam and massage, and when you walk in and after 5 minutes and you close your eyes, what you hear is ramping shop, that's going to affect how you feel. You're going to be wondering what's happening here, because the music that you're hearing is not conducive. It's influencing you in some ways that you never expected. When you go in an aircraft, you get a certain kind of music, you get a certain kind of movies. So there is this question where, because there's no empirical evidence shown, and I love action movies, but for
Mm-hmm.
over 50 years now, none of those action movies have not influenced me to the point where I want to go and own a gun and do some things. The truth is, the same cannot necessarily be said with somebody else from a different exposure. And therefore, there's certain elements of the music. Music influence people to smoke weed, and that may be a good thing or a bad thing. But music influence that. In the same way, dancehall music as well influence a certain
Mm-hmm.
kind of behavior and gun culture. It is there. Just look at the videos. It's not me saying it. Are we saying that the persons who believe that music and dancehall in particular does not influence a certain kind of behavior, ask them how their kids are grown and the kinds of diet musically that their children, have or they encourage. They would, when you do this study, you'd realize that there's a particular kind of music that they would prefer for the children, and all of that culminates in the fact that music has a big, 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 big influence on our behavior.
Yeah. Thank you, voice of Paul Barkley there. Dwayne McDonald, your take on this.
Yeah, I agree with what JV and Paul said. You know, certainly music reflects the culture around you. That's where you draw your influences from, your inspiration from. So you're going to sing about what's around you. But certainly music has a huge 100% influence on people and on society. And earlier in the discussion, I mentioned Bob Marley. You know, we can't have we cake and eat it. So it's either we're going to celebrate the great influence of Bob Marley and recognize that music is influential, or we're going to say that music wasn't influential and therefore Bob Marley's music wasn't influential. We can't have we cake and eat it. And these discussions are happening a lot in the space right now, and people need to recognize music has an influence on people. Where we normally go astray, I think, is where we try to blame only music on what's happening in society. Music is not the only input into how people behave or act. There are many inputs, but music definitely is one, and is a very powerful one. And it's something that we have to recognize. Artists have to recognize, and to be honest with you, I believe the artists do recognize that. We may not want to take account for it, because most musical practitioners, they're not necessarily in it to be role models or to be these speakers for the masses. They them like to do music, so them do music and they express themselves. They don't really want the responsibility. But the reality is that music has a great influence on society. There are many, many examples of that, both negative and both positive. And that's just, to me, the straight facts of the situation.
Thank you. Someone says, how did Cain kill Abel and there was no cable? Show the complexity of, chicken egg
and again, that is why people want to blame only the cable.
Yes,
but
yes,
because something good or bad happens doesn't mean that it's definitely because of quote unquote the cable. It could be many things, so
right.
Yeah.
Of course. Interesting conversation. Gentlemen, a little nuance. Is it okay to remix a secular song and put Jesus in front of it and it's a gospel song? It may be trivial to some people, but it's a big thing, Paul, I want Paul to start to this one, Yeah. Is it okay, Paul Barkley, to remix a secular song and just put Jesus in it and dub it gospel? What's your take on that?
Purpose is only found in the mind of the maker of a thing.
I want to make sure. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You can hear me? Purpose is only found in the mind of the maker of a thing. Miles Monroe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have done that before. The song on my first album, Ahu, stole the Babylonian garment. Ahu, make Jamaica seem like it condemned. Christians stop ramp, sinning at the camp of principalities and power. That was done over a rat race rhythm. God extended grace.
Yes.
He extended grace. That's all what a rat race, But suppose the song I choose, when I put it on YouTube, the title of the song and the metadata in the song, just I bring up some dirtiness and some slackness, I may want to think carefully, because no matter how much Jesus I put before that, when my daughter or the kids them go on YouTube, I'm sure say them not gonna see my tune. Them are gonna look on the big old you know what. So it has to be done with responsibility. So I'm gonna keep it short. Absolutely nothing is wrong. Let me reiterate what Dwayne says. Pop music is popular music, The most potent evangelists like Tasha Cobbs or TD Jakes, they are that because of the platform that they have. And what better way to influence people than using the biggest platform? Now, when I use Rat Race for my gospel song, from I was a boy, it was hundreds of thousands of US dollars Chris Blackwell pay for market that song, So once me strike up the rhythm, it done market already. Now can you imagine when me drop Jesus on that? That's a perspective. The person who says you shouldn't, they would have to give you their perspective why you wouldn't use any means necessary to draw somebody to the kingdom.
Thank you, Paul Barkley. Gentlemen, Dwayne, James, Javis, anyone of you want to give a perspective on that? I do have another question, but just to make sure I give you the opportunity.
Um, I totally agree with Paul. It's going to be based on perspective, and just as how we have been, reiterating the fact that music is a powerful tool. It may not contribute to all the woes or the benefits in society. Because it's still a powerful tool, you must wield it with some amount of responsibility. Understand what you have in your hand. It's very
Mm.
powerful. And as such, if you want to use a common or more recent examples too, you would have probably think about Brother Chosen and his tune, the remix, versus Kanye West, and that is just pulling from somebody abroad. And the whole heap of tune them when basically take and remix in the
Yeah.
middle like Sunday service vibe. We have endless, and we even have persons who are still, deemed to be secular, not Christians, who have taken their, same kind of rhythms as well as previously done songs that are some slack, some, as would I say, a conscious tune, and remix it and turn it into a gospel song, in quotation. So it is it is something that must be wielded with responsibility if you are a Christian doing a remix of something else. Ultimately, we cannot ignore, as we have been pointing out, the business side of things, and not, I guess, not just business side, just marketing in particular, because in order for something to have an impact, it must be heard. In order for a song to, you get what I mean? So you want to have some kind of reach. How big a reach? Well, you determine. But in order to have some kind of reach, if you see that that is an opportunity to get the message that you have in the song out, you can, nothing is wrong with it. You just have to do it with responsibly. I think lastly, it said that you must be careful. The word said that you must be careful that we don't lead others astray. So, not because you are fine, or you build up a tolerance to, a certain song being slack, you just take it and go make a remix. You know the different ones that are fine to use, and it won't stir up unnecessary controversy. Because I believe that controversy starts up some good conversation. Some things I
Same.
want to talk about a long time. That is my take.
Thank you, Javis. Courtney Morrison, so much big you up. All the way in the motherland there. Dwayne, and probably less than a minute, and this is the final, and then I go through the three of you. To just, what do you want us to consider when you think of the music and the impact, especially on our men? What is the word that you would leave to the purveyors of music, and how we can help to kind of encourage our men to be at a better place? Dwayne, I'd love you at least, and finishing up your last word on
Wow, one word is very hard. One word is very hard. Um,
that.
I mean, I would
Sure.
just, I don't think I can do one word. I just want our practitioners to know that you are powerful and your influence is powerful, and all music practitioners, you play a role in shaping our country and our world. Good, bad, in between. And when you're making your music, and all music doesn't have to be, talking about the ills of the world. We love happy music, we love vibes music, but just know that whatever you're doing is helping to shape this planet, and just keep that in mind what you do. That's all I would really say.
Thanks, Dwayne. Javis.
Yeah, I would just have to echo what Dwayne said. Don't be too bogged down by you know the lack of resources that you might have, or whether it's secular or in gospel, but especially those in the Christian community. Don't be dismayed. There's always a solution. Sometimes we have to change perspectives, seek help, put down any kind of pride, and God has provided a way, in the midst of this creative kind of dilemma that we might be facing on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Javis. Paul,
Yeah.
last word.
I just want to encourage the man them that would be in Christendom to understand the role that we have to play in society. And Like now, there's a lot of war in the air. And what you hear them talking about from a weak so-called point of view is concerned about what? Women and children. Women and children. Women and children. Over my years in the Christian community, the only time I see 2, 3, 4 times man than woman is when there's a gathering around sports and music. Every other time, women outnumber the men. And therefore, what it says is that unless we understand the role that we have and the purpose to lead and to be the backbone, so to speak, of the industry. Like I say, if war come, if them go and drop a bomb in Jamaica, them are going to talk about protect the women and the children. Why? Because them have a feeling that the man them supposed to stand up and deal with the thing. And that is my charge to the man them in the Christian community.
Thank you.
Look into yourself look into your role and then move forward with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Time done for
1 hour shot.
to Timoy Butler for technical support, and to our very special guest this afternoon, Dwayne McDonald, artist manager, tour manager, Javis McIntosh from Pioneer Music, Paul Barkley from Catalyst Crew, among other things. So, music can change the world because it can change people. Bono says that. This was the program designed for men with guest tour men, hosted by your truly Kevin Bailey. Today, Courtney will be with us next week. So catch you next week, same time on this program, The Mailbox. Thanks again, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. No, we could have gone on and on, but bless up and all the very best. It's great to have you all. So, Monday, listen.
Is the Alpha, the first. This is DJ Nicholas on the show.